Hello, John Dove here, and welcome to the next episode 26 of the Speed Mooting Partners in Crime podcast. Another exciting episode. Hayley and I discussed a variety of different topics. So we went over what the basis of plea was during our Learn the Law segment. We had quite a comprehensive question in relation to vacation scheme applications. So Hayley and I spoke at some length about applying for vacation schemes and tried to provide as much useful information as we possibly could. We also discussed our upcoming Pupillage Fair, which, if you're listening to the episode today on the release date, will be taking place tomorrow. You can still get your tickets, free tickets I should add, at speedmooting.com. If you are one of the few listeners who aren't subscribing, please click the button below, subscribe to the podcast, follow us on Spotify, and we hope you enjoy. Welcome to the podcast. And we are live.
Welcome everyone.
Welcome to the podcast.
New and improved.
You might notice if you are watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Spotify, we have microphones.
Boom! And if you're not watching, hopefully you can still tell the difference because we should both sound better.
Yep, fingers crossed. I mean, hopefully that's the most important cue.
Yes.
Because, you know, one of the issues that we've had is the sound quality's not been brilliant thus far because we've been recording on the microphones on the trusty MacBook Pro. But now we are here with proper microphones. So fingers crossed you can hear us. Fingers crossed the sound is improved. And, you know, I mean, that's the bare minimum that you would expect of a podcast, really, isn't it?
I suppose it is, yeah.
Good quality sound. Like how they describe, you know, a book as a page turner. And you might say, well, that's the bare minimum I expect from a book. Likewise with a podcast, the bare minimum, you can hear the hosts.
I've never really thought of that before, but when you say a book is a page turner, it's not really that impressive, is it?
Not really, no.
Performing its basic function that you can turn the page.
There we are.
There we go. But anyway, what better way to celebrate with what I believe is now officially 6 months of podcasting?
I think it will be, you know, episode 26. Hit the 6 month mark, haven't we?
Boom.
Halfway through the year.
With sound. So
6 months of poor quality. And then there we are. We're going onwards and upwards. We probably should have done this on episode 6 rather than 26, but better late than never.
We just need now the logo t-shirts, the logo mugs.
Yeah.
We need like a neon sign on the wall.
Imagine that.
It's got like live.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be a bit weird because this is
our living room, so you can probably see from the reflection in the TV behind me.
But eventually, you know, we'll have our own studio.
Oh, it's only a matter of time, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time.
Or we'll turn the living room into a studio, and it just means, you know, if ever you visit us, you're going to be on the podcast.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. I mean, we're getting to the point where we pretty much record everything we do anyway.
Yeah.
We've got 2 vlogs now. 2 vlogs, no less.
Vlogging.
I probably didn't even know what a vlog was up until a couple of weeks ago, and here I am, the star of 2 vlogs.
The vlogs are really popular, John. You've got to give the people what they want.
If the people want to see you drinking coffee, they want to see me walking into court, we will give the people what they want.
Indeed.
But enough jibber jabber. We like to
jibber jabber fool.
we like to name our episodes. Now, if you've listened before, you'll know that we generally name the episodes after Formula 1 drivers. If there's a Formula 1 driver with a corresponding number to the episode number. If there's no Formula 1 driver, we'll go outside of Formula 1. Thankfully, I've said this before, the 20s are really good. Formula 1 drivers like the numbers in the 20s for one reason or another.
Yep.
And 26 is no different. So, Hayley, do you want to have some guesses at who number 26 is?
I certainly do. But I need some clues.
Okay. He's Russian.
Is he a current driver?
He's not.
Is he a recent driver?
I mean, fairly recent. I mean, all of these drivers have driven within the last 10 years because they're on the current system, So he drove for Toro Rosso then got promoted to Red Bull, and then was placed back in the Toro Rosso team as well. And when he was swapped back into the Toro Rosso team, the person that replaced him at Red Bull was a certain Max Verstappen.
Oh, I do know. Because there was a bit of controversy.
There's a bit of controversy in the sense that Max Verstappen is going out with the woman this guy had a kid with.
Oh. I bet everyone's listening, like, it's so obvious and it's right at the tip of my tongue, but I don't know, so go on.
Daniel Kvyat.
Okay, that wasn't at the tip of my tongue.
So yeah, Daniel Kvyat.
Never heard of the guy.
Never heard of him, yeah. So he was, fairly good driver in the Red Bull Junior program, came into the Toro Rosso team, and then when a certain Sebastian Vettel left Red Bull for Ferrari, he was the man that had to fill Vettel's shoes at Red Bull. Big shoes to fill. And then, funnily enough, I think it was Sebastian Vettel that got him sacked as well, because...
Come on, Vettel.
I know. So, Danny Kvyat, I have to say, really good driver, actually. Had a lot of potential. He scored some podiums for Red Bull. And Vettel refers to him as the torpedo, because there was... basically, he stuck a bit of a move up the inside, and he said, "You torpedoed me."
Oh.
And not long after that, he got demoted to Toro Rosso, and Max Verstappen was promoted to Red Bull. But his career continued for a bit after that. I think he does a bit of sports car racing now. So you kind of LMP2, LMP1 stuff.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, like Le Mans 24 hours, that kind of thing.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that's what he's up to these days. But yeah, no. So welcome to episode 26, the Danny Kvyat special.
Welcome.
So enough Formula One talk, enough microphone talk. Let's talk law.
Let's talk law.
So, we have different segments on the podcast. We chat about what's going on at speed mooting. We talk about opportunities. We talk about career advice.
Commercial awareness. Learn the law. Let's start with a bit of learning the law. Okay. What are we learning today, John?
So, something that's quite commonplace, actually, in a criminal lawyer's practice, but something that you might not really know about as a student, or even... when you're on your bar course, etc. So I thought it's something to talk about because it comes up quite a lot, and it happened to me, this week, and we do this fairly regularly. And it's what's known as the basis of plea. So let's say you're defending somebody, and they're charged with let's pluck an offence out of the air. ABH. Okay, all right. So an ABH, so assault occasioning actual bodily harm, section 47. And let's say, for argument's sake, the allegation is that you've caused a broken nose, and they say that it was caused by, let's stick with that example, and let's say they say it was caused by 2 punches and then a stomp, something like that. Okay, and your client is saying, well, do you know what? I probably did cause that, but that's a load of rubbish. That was over the top. What actually happened was it was a single punch. Mm-hmm. So your client is accepting the guilty. They accepted they're guilty of the ABH because they've obviously assaulted the individual. They've caused the actual bodily harm. But the mechanism by which they've caused that, they dispute. And that's important for sentencing because obviously, 2 punches and a stomp on somebody's nose is very different to a single punch for the purposes of the sentencing guidelines.
Yeah.
So if you're defending, you might approach the prosecutor and say, look, my client's willing to plead guilty. However, they want to plead guilty on this basis. And the prosecutor would, they might have to go and take instruction from the complainant on that point. But it's a good way of disposing with these cases because obviously there's some agreement there. And it's a perfect way to avoid your trial. Of course, if the offer is sensible, prosecutors don't, quite rightly, wouldn't just accept, silly offers. So if you just turn around and say, no, my client's going to plead guilty to a 39 on the basis he flicked him or something. None of that business. I'm using a really extreme example, by the way. But the point being, it's a good way of dealing appropriately with cases and disposing with these cases. And so quite often what you would do is you would commit it to writing what the basis is. Your client would approve it, quite often sign it, and then the prosecutor would then potentially accept it. If it's accepted, your client would be sentenced on that basis. So it's sometimes a way of your client saying, well, do you know what? I do accept I committed that offence. I accept I'm guilty. However, not guilty on those facts.
So it sounds a lot like a Newton hearing, doesn't it?
Yeah, very similar. But
so is the difference then the basis of plea is agreed, the Newton hearing is disputed?
Precisely, yeah. And that's the point. So it avoids the need for the Newton hearing because, take the same set of facts. Your client says, yeah, I accept it was a single punch rather than 2 punches in the stomp. If the prosecution weren't willing to accept that basis and say, no, that's not good enough, we don't accept that, well, your client will put the guilty plea in and then it goes to a Newton hearing and it's then down to a tribunal to decide what actually happened, what was the factual matrix, and therefore on what basis your client is due to be sentenced.
Okay.
So it just avoids that the need for that hearing.
There we go. So that was our Learning the Law segment. Shall we do an Ask Speed Squad?
Let's Ask Speed Squad.
I actually got a nice message on my LinkedIn, so I will find it.
Oh, go on.
That will be what we can answer today. Message is, hi Hayley, I noticed from your profile that you are helping inspiring lawyers like me to gain legal experience. Thank you, first of all. Good to see that what we do is visible online.
Absolutely, yeah.
I am currently looking to apply for legal vacation schemes and was wondering if you have any tips on the application process. So I will start by saying I never actually completed any vacation schemes, and I don't think you did.
Not any formal ones, no.
Not any formal ones. So we'll give some general advice.
Give some general advice,
absolutely. But in terms of the recruitment process, that will vary from firm to firm. The closest I ever got to this was when I was at Ewa Mitchell, because I looked after some people on their vacation scheme.
Right.
And I believe that the application process for the vacation scheme is very similar to the process for a training contract.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
So you have to go through the assessment centre, and then at the end of the week, 2 weeks, you then had a final interview, I think.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, that does sound right, to be fair.
Yeah.
It does sound right.
Assuming that is correct, then typically what you can expect at recruitment days like that, it's usually some form of group exercise, followed by some sort of instruction taking exercise. So, for example, ours, we had to listen to a tape recording of a client that had every possible scenario happen to them in the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
So you had to, they'd been run over, crashed the car, had personal injuries, or also they're going bankrupt, or also that, everything. Yeah. So you had to listen to that instruction and try and identify what departments in the firm they needed, take down the key information.
Yeah.
That was actually the hardest one of the whole day, I think, because it was just like, and when you're like nervous as well, when you're stressed, it's like hard to take all that information in. So it's really good exercise. And then also some form of presentation as well. A lot of firms like to do that. So just taking them one step at a time first. So the group exercise, do you have any advice for that, John?
For a group exercise, I think because what they're looking at is how well you get on with other people.
Exactly.
So I think make sure you can be heard, make sure you're contributing. And I think also try and show elements of confidence as well. So, when you're putting across your ideas, don't go, maybe we could, put across, here's what I think, here's how we can go about this exercise, here's how we can go about challenging this problem. So showing that, you're willing to basically take part and also put forward your ideas confidently. So I think that's what I don't know, but I'm guessing that's what
I imagine that is right. The watching you, how you interact with the team to make sure, law firms are teams, every department
I
team,
suppose they are,
the barrister role is a lot more independent, so as solicitors you really need to be able to get along well with people and contribute properly.
Yeah, I think so. I guess that's why I'm more suited to the bar, to be fair, isn't it?
Team meeting.
I have to say, I went through one of these processes, one of these days.
Yeah.
I know we're going off on a tangent here. For one training contract I went to, and you're just thinking, I mean, you know, I'm sure there's someone on a committee somewhere in a think tank or whatever that thinks these are good ideas or what have you.
I'm gonna disagree. I think you know, there's a purpose to each part. So yeah, you might be able to, like the instruction taking exercise, which I thought was difficult.
Yeah.
You might be great at that, but if you can't go into a meeting and tell people what this client needs, or you can't cross sell. So you might be a employment partner, and this client might, you know, need a personal injury lawyer, might need a business lawyer, and you go into team meeting and just, is anything else? No, I don't think so. Like,
I see what you're doing. Yeah, it's a way for them to be in the spotlight.
Exactly. So I think that's probably why you are suited to the barrister role.
I think so, and I think also probably what got me a little bit about it was a firm I was working for at the time, and I'm thinking, well,
you understand
so it was an internal recruitment process. And I'm thinking, so maybe for external recruitment, maybe it is because these are people that the firm doesn't know them, so it's a chance for you in 24 hours or a single day to see how they. So maybe I take your point on that. When it's a firm you already work for, they know how you perform, they see how you perform the job on a day-to-day basis, and in effect, you're applying for a training contract to do the same job that you're doing before when you were paralegal in anyway.
Yeah.
And it was just like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
I must admit, I went through the process when I was an internal candidate as well. And I remember being frustrated in similar but slightly different ways as well. Yeah. I do appreciate the frustration, John. But back to our question.
Sorry, but back to the question though. So how do you deal with the team exercise? So yeah, I think my thinking, this is probably what they're after. They want to see how you interact, how confident you are, and I think you made a good point there, Hayley. How do you put your position across? Because you need to be pretty firm with clients. I think not firm in a nasty way, but firm. Mm-hmm. So if it's good advice, tell them positively. If it's negative, obviously you need to get that across, and you don't want to have your arm twisted by a client and go, all right, I'll follow your direct. If it's negative advice, tell the client. I think that's what they're looking at: how well you interact with other people, play well as a team, and also how you can put your points across. So I think make sure you're seen to be contributing. Don't just be the guy in the corner taking notes. Okay, yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that.
I think make sure you have a role, as you say.
Have a role.
So contribute, and there's always going to be that person in the team that takes the lead and thinks, right, I need to be the best, I'm going to be the loudest, I'm going to be the most aggressive, probably the wrong way, but I take the point, assertive. So there might instantly be a leader and you're like, oh no, what am I going to do? So just, find a role, make sure it's clear that you're contributing. So it could even be, I'm going to take time.
Yeah.
And then just every night, you still need to contribute your ideas, you can't just sit there with a watch, but you've got a role and taking time. Or if you are the one that takes notes, every now and then stop and go, okay guys, we made some really good points, I'm just going to recap where we are, and I think an extra point here is this.
Exactly.
So
try and throw something in. And I think if you have got, because if you can be the person that takes the lead and goes, okay, right, so here's why we do this, maybe we need a chairwoman to run this, if you can jump in and fill that role, and then but do it without, as you say, without being,
you don't need to be dominate everybody or make people think that you think your voice is the only voice to
exactly
be heard.
Precisely. So if you can do it without coming across that way, coming across bullshit, just do it so it shows that you're confident, it shows that you're willing to lead, but also do it in a way that's quite collaborative. Brilliant. Obviously, as you say, Hayley, sometimes you get those sort of alpha people that no, and then they think theirs is the only voice, they're the loudest person in the room. Fine, let that person take over, as in let them, if they want to be the whatever, let them run it, but make sure your voice is still heard. And if they're coming up with ideas that are a bit silly, don't be afraid to challenge them. Mm-hmm. Well, is that really the best way? What do you think about this? Can we do it this way? Maybe a better approach is. So make sure that your voice is still heard there.
So that would do our advice on a team building exercise. And once again, we haven't done vacation schemes and we have never recruited for vacation schemes. So there might be recruitment people, early careers people listening going, oh, it's not quite what we're looking for. This is just our view. But we have been in the law a long time, so hopefully our view is valuable. So team building exercise, some form of presentation as well is really common. You probably, usually without notice, I would expect. I mean, ours, there was a presentation, but it wasn't what you would, in the standard sense, you wasn't going into a room with 20 people. But once you did the instruction taking exercise, which I mentioned, you had to go and take your notes into a room with a partner and present to them your findings. So it was sit down and looking at paper presentation, but it was still a presentation.
Yeah.
And so you can probably give some good advice.
Yeah, well, I was going to say with that, if you can be, because quite often, you know, it's everyone boasts about, oh, I'm so nervous, I'm not good at, not boast, but, you know, talks about they're not good at public speaking. Put yourself forward, be the person to nominate yourself for that. And it probably sounds a bit, you know, self-fulfilling for me to say this, but work on your public speaking skills. You know, if you can, you know, not so that you don't have to be Barack Obama or anything, but make sure that you are somewhat competent in the way that you can present, so that when this time comes and you go, you know, yeah, I'll volunteer for that, and you give a good presentation, people remember that. And, you know, just the simple things, speaking slowly, keeping eye contact, being confident. If you can, you know, speak without having to read entirely from a script, just the fundamentals like that. Yeah. If you can present in that way, people think, do you know what, this person's got something about them? Because there is something, you know, if you've got the ability and the charisma to present, people think, oh, do you know what, you've got something about you. Yeah. So it's a good way for you to stand out. Number one, you're showing that you're confident, because everyone will go, I don't want to present, I don't want to be that person. You know, this is your chance to shine. You've been invited for your training contract, vacation assessment day. Use that opportunity, and if you can be the one that presents, absolutely go for it and knock it out the park.
Yeah, so that's some advice about the day.
Yeah, there's normally an interview on the day as well.
It's right to point it out, because there will be an interview at some part, whether it's at the end, at the beginning. The only thing, so yeah, there will be an interview at some point in the process. And
I think, you know, probably helpful for us to just share some points on interviews as well. And I think, once again, you know, confidence. You know, you're answering questions. There's a tendency for people to be overly modest. You know, this is your chance to shine. Don't be bolshy, but, you know, if you've got strong skills and you can back them up with evidence, present that. Be confident in your answers. Brush up on current, you know what, whichever firm you're applying to and whatever's current, brush up on that.
Definitely.
So, you know, to give an example, I'll probably talk about this interview in more detail at some point, because I had a bit of an issue with it. But one of the questions I got was Denton and White, which was, you know, that was hot news at the time. So obviously you had the Andrew Mitchell case, which dealt with relief from sanctions, and then you had Denton and White go to the Court of Appeal thereafter. And that was kind of big at the time. And, you know, because I was working in that area, knew all about it. I was always reading up on the law, as you would do in the area in which you're working. So when that question came up, I spoke. So, you know, likewise, whichever area of law it is that firm specialises in, or, you know, that particular department that you're going for a vacation scheme with, brush up on it. You know, you don't have to be spending days and days and days, but just make sure that you know what's current, so that you can talk about what's current, and, if possible, give your opinion on, you know, where you think it's going, whether you think the law's right, how you think the law applies, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember an interview I went to a few years ago now, and I was researching this firm and what current cases the firm themselves were involved with. And there was a long-running case that had been going for 4 or 5 years. It was going through the appeals process, and the latest thing on the news, like the day before or a couple of days before, was that judgment was being handed down.
Wow.
So it didn't even come up in the interview, but I was just, any questions at the end, I was like, I've been following this case. Do you have the judgment yet? Can you tell me about it? And then we started talking about this area of law for a good while. So
amazing.
That just obviously impressed, because it was something extra to speak about that wasn't part of the interview, but it just showed that I'd done some wider reading. And most firms, you know, they're very big on marketing, on social media, on their website, so it's not hard to find current cases that they're working on. No. Or even if it says, you know, this area of law, like you say, John, go and have a look what's impacting that area of law. Absolutely. Yeah. And also wider things. We talk a lot about extracurricular stuff, so if you can see, I'll use Ewan Mitchell for example, they were big on the Prince's Trust Foundation. They used to do a huge ball every year to raise thousands for this charity. I was unsurprisingly a member of that committee. But, you know, that could have been something in the interview. Oh, I see that you're really big on your CSR. You've hosted this ball for a number of years. That's great. Can juniors get involved? Can trainees get involved? And they're like, oh, great, yeah. They're actually they're really interested in stuff we do.
Yeah.
They haven't just read only about the work, only about the law. They know about us as a wider firm.
Yeah.
So that's really good to speak in interview. On a related note, you know, don't be afraid to shout about your own interests, no matter how quirky they are. So you do Carlton, John. I imagine that's come up in a lot of your interviews.
Yeah.
The interview when I got my training contract, we spoke for a while about running because I was doing a half marathon at the time. But yeah, that was just a topic that was completely nothing to do with the firm, with law, etc. But it just shows that you've got interest outside
that's it.
of work and that you're your own person.
Yeah. Yeah, they want to see that you're interested, don't they? Because at the end of the day, you know, people don't want to employ academic robots. Obviously, you need people who are clever, keen on the law, know the law, but you need to have a little bit of something outside because, you know, you're going to be working with, you know, potentially if you're committed to that firm for the next 20, 30, 40 years, you're going to be there working with them every day. So they want someone who's going to be interested that they can work with and they'll get on with rather than...
Yeah, and you never know where you're going to find common ground with somebody. You know, you
really
might just really get on with someone because they've got a common interest, or it might be something you've never heard of before, so you spend 10 minutes telling them all about it and they're like, wow.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, they remember that afterwards they had a really enjoyable conversation and they learned something from you. And then some final tips, the basics. So as we talked about the basics for the applications, the basics for the interviews, look presentable. Have a shower.
Yeah.
Don't be late.
Don't be late.
Get there soon. I mean, I always an hour plus, which is overkill.
Yeah.
But I like to get there, find it, go somewhere nearby, have a coffee, calm my nerves, read my notes. It's all like a lot of overkill.
Well, do you know what? It just takes the pressure off, doesn't it? Yeah, you're less stressed.
Never late for an interview because even if they don't mind and they understand, the bus was late, this was late, you just starting off on a bad foot because you're really flustered. Yeah. They've been waiting around for you, so
you don't get a second chance to make a first impression.
You don't. No, you don't. So they are some interview tips.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say they've been through the interview, they've been through the assessment day, they've got the vacation scheme. Yay!
Yeah.
So tips for the vacation scheme itself.
Okay.
I
mean, we're giving tips for something we've never done, so...
No, but I've seen people on vacation schemes.
Yeah.
To be fair, the year when I looked after the vacation scheme students, I call them students.
Participants.
Every one of them got a training contract that year.
There you go.
I'm not going to say it was my influence, but, you know, there's no evidence to say that it wasn't my influence. So, they were just all really impressive and they worked together really well. So there was 3 of them. They were all in different teams at different times, but I remember one day something hit and we were all really busy. So one of the other participants said, well, I've nearly finished this, or I can finish this after lunch. Do you want me to come over and help with that task? You know, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Just being proactive, not being shy, not being afraid to muddle in. We always take them on socials as well, so they had fun, but they behaved themselves.
Yeah, that's a key thing,
You think you're not being watched on the socials. You are.
Yeah.
You really are. And you might think, I'm really nervous. I'll have an extra glass of wine to calm my nerves. Don't do it. Don't do it. You are being... The whole thing is an assessment.
Yeah.
So they conducted themselves really well. They got involved. And they were just obviously very, very competent as well, which is something, as we say, there's no substitute for it. So they're dealing with complex topics that they've never dealt with before. So areas of law that they hadn't touched, for example, but they took in the information. If they didn't understand something, they asked a question. Yeah. And they just comprehended it really well, and they completed all the tasks efficiently. Which I suppose there's no real tips for that other than
do what you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the only thing I'd ask, and as you say, ask questions. If you are going to ask a question, and once again, if you're on a vacation scheme, you're a law student, you're not expected to know everything, because you're a law student, you're at that stage, you're not in practice, so you're not expected to know all these things. And when you're asking a question, maybe make a suggestion as to what you think the answer might be. So I was wondering about this. I think it might be this. Is that the case? So it makes it look as if you've done a bit of research beforehand, you've put a bit of thought into it.
Yeah.
But you're just double checking, and you might be way off the mark, and I don't think you're going to be criticised for not knowing practical things, because I certainly wouldn't. I wouldn't question someone's ability if they're at that stage.
No.
You're on your undergraduate degree, you don't know something about what goes on in practice, the answer to a practical problem, whatever. Absolutely, I would never criticise, but some people do. Yeah. Some people expect you to have all the knowledge, all the answers, so just be wary of that.
There's no stupid questions, that's what people say. However, there will be some old school partners that may judge you if you ask something stupid.
Yeah.
So when you're going to the partners, absolutely, John, as you say, go prepared. I thought maybe it was this, but I'm not too sure. Is that right? So can you talk me through that? That's great. But a good way to balance that is, to find the juniors to ask questions to. So, As I say, I was one of the people looking after the participants. So you could ask me the stupid questions, absolutely. And I won't judge. I'd be more impressed that they've asked rather than sat there terrified and not done anything productive, because at the end of the day, it's quite a bit of work goes into looking after people on vacation schemes. So if they can be useful, so much the better, and it's more impressive. Like, I actually got that task done faster because I had them helping me rather than didn't get anything done today because I was looking after the vacation scheme people all day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, as I say, I if ever I've got a mini pupil with me and they'll make me a court, I'll sit down, I'll say, look, this is what the hearing is all about today. This is the purpose of the hearing. These are the people that's going to be in court, who's involved. This is what might happen. This is what we're trying to achieve. So explain everything, because, quite frankly, although so I do crime, for example, and you study your criminal law, so you understand all the basic concepts. Your mens rea, your actus reus, the different offences, whatever. You're not told in your law degree what a case management hearing is or anything like that. So I approach it on that basis, and therefore I like to provide as much information as possible. And I imagine on vacation schemes you will come across people who, when you're sitting there working with them, they'll say, this is what we're doing, this is the purpose of the document, this is how we're going to type it. Sometimes you won't. So do not be afraid to ask questions. Although we're caveating it with, you might want to suggest answers. Sometimes there's things you just have no way of knowing anything about, and you might be learning something for the first time. Do not be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah.
And coming on from that, if something doesn't necessarily make sense, don't panic either, because you're seeing this thing for the first time, you're learning it in a bit of a vacuum, so things might not make sense. So don't think that means that you're stupid or anything like that. It's just because when you're seeing practical things that people do day in, day out for years and years and years, and you're looking at it for the first time thinking, what on earth is this?
Yeah.
Because I had the same thing when I did work experiences in law firms, and for example, road traffic, did the odd bit where I was shadowing people doing road traffic accident claims and personal injury, and they were telling me all about the RTA portal. And someone's trying to explain that, and you're just looking at it and thinking, what on earth is this?
Yeah.
And, it's just so out of context. You say, so we're submitting our medical report here. What is all this for? It makes no sense. So don't panic if there's certain bits you don't understand that you say. It's absolutely fine.
And I think a final point, which it can make it quite tricky, is, especially in law firms, I imagine it's the same when you're on many pupillages and stuff, when you're shadowing different barristers, but not everyone likes to do things the exact same way. So I know when you're a trainee, for example, part of the first week, couple of weeks even, of settling into your new seat is finding out how your supervising partner, how your supervisor likes things to be done.
Right.
And it might be completely different to your previous one. And it'll be the same, on many pupillages and pupillages, John. Every person that you're with in court that day might like things to be done slightly differently.
I think so, yeah.
So, for example, some partners might hate long emails. Don't send me a long email. Call me. Come speak to me. Some might be, I'm in and out of meetings all the time. Email me and I'll come back to you when I can. Everyone's very different. And for your vacation scheme, it's pretty much a very condensed version of that. So each day you might be with a different partner. So don't assume what you've been told to do the day before is how this person likes it to be done. And there's nothing wrong with asking them. So, oh, here's a task. Can you do this for me? Yeah, great. When I'm done, do you want me to come talk to you, or should I send you an email? Oh yeah, email me because I'm in meetings. Oh no, come talk to me, of course. You know, everyone's different. And you've got to learn the quirks of your supervisors, because some of them can be very precious with how they like things to be done.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
I think we've talked long enough about
vacation
schemes.
Pretty comprehensive answer, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty comprehensive.
So to the person that messaged us, I hope that was helpful. But if you've got any follow-up questions, do ask us. We're
Fire away.
Yeah. So we were going to keep this short today.
It's getting on for quite a lengthy one.
So I think we will just finish with a mention of a little event we've got this weekend, John.
Yeah, a little event this weekend. So we have the Speed Mooting Northern Pupillage Fair. So it's taking place on Saturday the 28th of September. So if you're listening to this podcast on release day, it's happening tomorrow. If you're interested, you can still sign up. speedmooting.com/pupillage-fair.
Yeah. And if you listen to this on Saturday morning, get yourself down to the Liner Hotel, because it's you can go in from 10 till 4, drop in. So
yeah,
you listen to this now thinking, oh, it's 12, it's midday. It's fine.
Still
get
time.
Yourself down there, there's still time.
It's on till 4 o'clock. So if you're listening to this on Saturday, Hayley and I are in the Liner Hotel right now doing Pupillage Fair stuff. Probably manning our stand, aren't we?
Yeah, we've got a fair few stands. You're doing a talk as well, John.
I'm doing a talk. So we've got a comprehensive array of talks. So we've got chambers, we've got a law firm, we've got a few educational providers, and most importantly,
John, stop being modest, John.
Do you know what? It's but
we just said, you know, sometimes you've got to boost yourself.
You got to not this, and this was my problem initially when I used to do application forms. It'd be, I suppose I'm sort of all right. I might be okay at advocacy. Why would you make a good barrister? Well, I don't know if I would. I didn't put that. You know what I mean? But you know, the point being, you know, there can be an over modesty. So sell yourself. No one else is going to. No one else is going to go, oh, you know what, John, we'll write in alongside your pupillage application and tell that chambers how good you are. No, you're the only one who can. So
lesson learned. John thinks the very best talk at the weekend is his.
Yeah. Realised how that's come across, really, haven't I? I mean, hopefully it's going to be a good talk, because it's an advocacy exhibition. So you're going to see me deliver, as it says on the tin, just like Ron Seal, an exhibition on advocacy.
Yeah, they're all going to be super, super valuable.
No, they're all going to be great talks.
Don't miss John's. What time is yours?
12 o'clock.
12 o'clock.
So midday. Some people eat lunch at that time, but you know what? This is one of those when you need to say, do you know what? Advocacy is more important than lunch. Let's watch John. I can have my lunch at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, it's only a half-hour exhibition.
Half hour.
You've got plenty of time to get lunch.
So you can come in, sit down, listen to an advocacy exhibition. 12:31, wolf down a sandwich. So you know everyone's a winner. So it's going to be exciting anyway. I'm looking forward to delivering that presentation, and I hope people enjoy it and find that useful. But as we say, you know, I'm taking the mickey and I'm being facetious about the most important.
John, we know.
But 4 other great talks on the day as well, and such a wide variety. You know, you're going to hear about somebody's route to the bar. You're going to hear, as I say, talks about the educational side of being a barrister, talks about criminal law, talks about commercial law. So such a wide variety. And hopefully it'll be really eye-opening. Certainly, I always link back to about a decade ago when I went to one of these pupillage fairs in the south, believe it or not, the Target Jobs Pupillage Fair. And let's announce this.
Yeah.
So Target Jobs and Speed Mooting, we are endorsing each other's pupillage fairs. So Target Jobs, for a long time, have been running the National Pupillage Fair in London, in Lincoln's Inn. This is the first time we're running the Northern Pupillage Fair, and I think our pupillage fairs really complement each other very, very well. So we're certainly supporting and endorsing each other's pupillage fairs. So 2 great companies bringing you 2 great opportunities. If you can attend both, attend both because I'm sure they're both going to be fantastic.
Absolutely. And there'll be different exhibitors.
They're going to be different. There's different exhibitors, different talks at each. So, I thought I'd really point that out. But the point I was going to make, I went to their pupillage fair well over a decade ago, and I attended a talk by a criminal barrister. I think I've spoken about this on the podcast previously.
You definitely have, yeah.
And, so many, I was always interested in criminal law, but there were so many things that were really eye-opening. And I think two of the big takeaways was, number one, he said, you don't need to be going into this profession at the age of 21. I think he made a joke that he was 29 coming into this profession. I was 33 coming to the criminal bar, and he said, it's not, if anything, it's actually a help because you come in with so much life experience that you progress so much quicker. That, within a couple of years, he's caught up all of his contemporaries that were at the bar, since they were 22. And, this guy went on to take silk within, a short period of time. So it certainly didn't hold him back. And he also answered some misconceptions about the criminal bar as well, because when you're at university, all you hear is, oh, the criminal bar's on its, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's all rosy, the criminal bar. There's certainly things that need to be improved, but, one of the misconceptions that you'll often hear is that, criminal barristers earn less than sort of Tesco shelf stackers. And, he said, and bearing in mind that none of us had pupillage, none of us were in practice, he said, raise your hand if you've ever billed a legal aid criminal case. How many hands went up, Hayley?
I would imagine none.
None went up. He said, so therefore, your fees aren't being cut. Because, potentially legal aid fees were going to be cut. And thankfully they didn't rise at that time, but they weren't cut. Legal aid fees certainly could be better. But the point he was making was, your fees are not being cut. And he said, it's not, you can still make a living at the criminal bar. And that was quite eye-opening for me.
Yeah.
Particularly when with the rhetoric that you often hear. So it's quite nice. So it's well worth attending these talks because you just never know what information you're going to pick up.
Exactly.
So we're, as you can imagine, super excited.
We were down at the liner this morning, weren't we, John?
Yeah, down at the liner. We were chatting with Ollie, our point of contact. He helps us run all of our events at the liner. He's a great guy, Ollie.
And we already, I think we can say this.
Let's say it.
We already penciled in the date for 2025.
2025. So should we announce the date, Hayley?
Let's not announce the date because it's only penciled in.
It's only penciled in.
We'll say it's going to be pretty much same time next year.
Yeah, pretty similar. So you can bank on a similar time for the Northern Pupillage Fair next year. But, bear in mind how great this one's going to be. Let's be frank about it. This is going to be a good pupillage fair.
Oh, yeah.
Just imagine how much better next year's is going to be. Let's bring this towards an end. Hayley, I've thoroughly enjoyed recording this podcast. Have you enjoyed recording it too?
I certainly have, John, on our new microphone.
On the new microphone. Let's give them a shout out, the HyperX.
We're fans so far.
We're fans so far. Hopefully you are too. Drop us a comment below if you like the new sound quality. And if you're still listening at this time, you are a real listener. You're a true fan, if I put it that way.
You are a member of the Speed Squad. You are a smooter.
So drop a comment below. HyperX. And until next time, cheerio.
Bye.